Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Battleground, our brand new show on Fighters First, where we debate an MMA subject until it's done. If you know, my co-host, the mechanic Brandon Catino, him and myself have gone back and forth on Art of MMA for a long time. Of course, I'm Mike Ginn. We decided to come up with a brand new show for the holiday season, something to kind of bridge the gap between now and when we bring Art of MMA back for the new year. And who knows? If it's great enough, maybe it becomes a part of Art of MMA or keeps doing its own thing. But we'll see. Make sure you drop a comment. Let us know how you feel about the episode. If you're familiar with Slamtown on the network, you know how it kind of works. We pick a subject, go back and forth, both voice our opinions, and at the end of the show, try to come up with a solution. That's why it's called Battleground. Like I said, if you watch Art of MMA, you know Brandon and I go all the time. So we just made a whole show of it. Brandon, how you doing today, buddy?
Doing good, man. Good to be with you.
Enjoying the holidays so far?
You know it.
That is all the niceness we're going to have. It's time to get to war. Today's subject, who is the best pure boxer in MMA today? Of course, this is all on the heels of Dustin Poirier and Oliveira coming up soon. The conversation got kind of sparked up. Max Holloway just fought recently. Dustin Poirier for himself says Petr Yan has the best hands. I know Brandon's a huge fan of AJ McKee over in Bellator. This conversation will have no limit as far as promotion. It could be Bellator, it could be PFL, it could be UFC, it could be somewhere overseas like one. It has no limit on gender. We could talk about the Shivchenkos. We could talk about a number of other female fighters. Amanda Nunes comes to mind when you talk about pure strikers. The only thing I will exclude is some people that have come from boxing over to MMA because they kind of got a little bit of a head start. Clarissa Shields, obviously an Olympic level boxer, world champion boxer. Holly Holm was a world champion boxer before she came over. And Heather Hardy, who's fighting over in Bellator and some other promotions, world champion boxer before she came over to MMA. So I will disqualify them from the conversation right off the bat. But Brandon, let's get this conversation started. Best pure boxer in MMA today. Give me some names just to kind of get this ball rolling.
A couple of people. They're actually they're actually all in the same weight class. You got Adrian Yanez, my fellow Dr. Pepper lover. Petr Yan, like you mentioned earlier, and I mean even women wise, Chris Cyborg over in Bellator, and even Arlene Blinkow as well was also in Bellator. She has some good boxing, but then again, though, she might be disqualified because I want to say she
started as boxing
beforehand. Yeah. So I mean, at least you at least got Chris Cyborg over there, representing the ladies boxing wise.
I wouldn't disqualify Arlene Blinkow just because she only had a handful of boxing fights before she came over to MMA, and if you're old enough in MMA for not to throw her under the bus because I love the way she fights. But she's like 38 or something like that now. If you're old enough and you've been around MMA long enough, a lot of these athletes, especially in other countries, had to start with boxing to get into combat sports. It wasn't really an option. I remember when I interviewed Ray Sefo, he did some boxing as well. He comes from an entire boxing family, especially in New Zealand and Australia. It's a huge boxing territory. Now you think about it with the Israel Adesanyas and the Mark Hunts and the Robert Whittakers and a number of other fighters come from there with kickboxing and just all around MMA. But coming up 20 years ago, boxing was the main sport in all of that region. So it's a little different world nowadays, obviously. When you talk about pure boxer, it kind of eliminates the strikers because, obviously, if you're saying strikers, Adesanya, Michael Venom Page, Wonderboy Thompson. But we're narrowing it down to just boxers, pure boxers in MMA. I'm thinking Dustin Poirier, Petr Yan, Max Holloway. Your boy AJ McKee has those hands. I think about an up-and-comer like Sean O'Malley, who just has vicious hands. He also uses his legs a lot, but he has really good hands. I think about Conor McGregor, who's obviously crossed over to fight a Floyd Mayweather and hung with him for like 9-10 rounds. Some can say Floyd took his time, but you're in there with one of the greatest of all time. That's not a joke, I think about heavyweights like Francis Ngannou, who will just straight up Mike Tyson fight you. So there's a number. Jorge Masvidal, another one of my favorites, just known for his hands. Little guys like TJ Dillashaw is known for his hands for a number of times. And then two other guys I'll throw out there. Cody Garbrandt for a number of years was known as a boxer. He hasn't been successful lately, so it's a little hard to keep him in that conversation. And then a guy we just saw a few weeks ago, Justin Gaethje. He mixes it up, but his hands are lethal. So those are some names I like to throw out there. The Diaz brothers, obviously, as well, but they're kind of in the twilight of their career. With those names kind of thrown out there, and then also females, even though she is a very all-round fighter, Valentina Shivchenko has some very, very good hands when it comes to a female fighter. I can put up there with the top 5 of any striker if we were just going strikers. But with boxing, she's in there too. Arlene Blencow, like you mentioned, and Cyborg. Cyborg is, when it comes to just throwing hands, she's been doing it for a long time. Obviously, Amanda Nunes has great hands, but she also mixes in the wrestling and some other things as well to kind of set up those hands. So it's a little different for me. I know Amanda's a great striker, but I don't consider her a great boxer, if that makes any sense. So those are some names that we got out there just already. And, of course, at home, jump in the conversation. When this episode drops, leave a comment. Let us know who is the best pure boxer in MMA. But I'm going to go ahead and start with the names that a lot of people rattle off, right, Brandon? Max Holloway for one. Consistently setting more and more records for strikes in a fight. Whether it's 3 rounds or 5 rounds, he's constantly setting these records. Dustin Poirier has gone from a little bit of everything to just having some of the cleanest hands in the business. Like the way he lights up Conor McGregor, he's lit up just about everybody on his way. It's just clean. It's in the pocket. You know he's not, if he gets you at range, it's dangerous. And then even he mentioned Petr Yan, what we saw Petr Yan do to Corey Sandhagen with his measured attacks, his accuracy was crazy. Right now in the game today, if you had to narrow it down to just like 3, who would those 3 be and why? Like, give me a little breakdown of each of those.
Yeah, I mean, I got to go with Petr Yan. Probably want to go with Adrian Yanez.
And I love that you picked Yanez because he was definitely a sleeper on my list.
Yeah, and I mean that third one is a little up there. I mean, because I don't want to be biased, you know. I kind of wanted to put my boy.
Be biased. That's what I got you here.
I know. Go. I mean, yo, I kind of want to put my boy Julio Arce in there too, man. You know, he got some good hands as well. You know, I mean, it's kind of funny. All 3 guys are bantamweights. You know, the 135ers. But yeah, man. I mean,
I throw another teammate of yours in there, Jimmy Rivera, too.
Yeah. He got
coincidentally is going to bare knuckle boxing.
Yeah. So, but I'd probably say those are my 3 guys. Like, I know everybody's gonna talk about Holloway and Poirier, and like there's a reason why I don't have them at the top, but I'm sure we're gonna go into it more later.
All right, well, tell me a reason why, because I know, like, personally, my top 3 right now: Dustin Poirier, Max Holloway, and kind of throw a little bit of a screwball in there. I love Petr Yan's boxing. I love Jorge Masvidal, but I think Jorge has more of a street style, in my opinion. But to kind of mix it up, I actually think the third best boxer right now is Sean O'Malley. With his range and the way he throws those hands, he throws uppercuts, which you don't see a lot of fighters throwing there. And a very close fourth is Justin Gaethje. But break down, and your boy AJ McKee. I can't take him out of the conversation. But tell me why, like, everybody says Max Holloway is the best pure boxer in MMA. Tell me why he's not.
The reason why is because a lot of people, like, they think about just offense, but good boxing, you got to have defense too. And I'm sorry, man, Max Holloway gets hits a lot. He does get hit a lot. Yeah, you know, saying his output is great, but his defense, he gets hit a lot. Like, saying, man, I had it on here. I got my stat.
He got hit a lot against Rodriguez.
Yeah, I'm saying I got my notes. Like, I'm saying, like, his average hits, like, where he throws about like seven punches landed, but then though he'll take basically 4.5. That's pretty high. Like, if you're in the 4s, like, that's high. So, and then also too, his striking defense is 61%. You know, like I'm saying, his output is high. Like I said, man, to have over 7, that like saying his output is high, so he's good on the offense. But the defensive side, that's the only reason why I don't really give it to him.
That's actually the same reason. That's the same reason I disqualified Justin Gaethje from the top. Because if you remember that Michael Chandler fight, how much? Because
even
go ahead.
Yeah. No, because I was gonna say, because even reason why I say Adrian Yanez is too, because he actually just did an interview and he even said like, yo, like things like a lot of people don't think about defense, they just think about offense, and that's why Yanez thinks that he should be in the mix because of his defense as well.
Yeah, I mean, Justin Gaethje was just in a war with Michael Chandler where both of them were damn near knocking each other out. Gaethje obviously got the better of it. Max has been in 2 wars with Petr and Yair, which Max obviously got the better of the wars, but those were wars back and forth. Dustin is a little cleaner with it. Sean O'Malley's a lot cleaner with it. Sean hasn't been tested as much, that's why I don't put him in the very top. Conor McGregor, for the fact that he's probably the only one on the list that's fought a high-profile boxing fight.
Yeah.
He's very rangy. He has an MMA style of boxing. It kind of makes me disqualify him from that conversation because he tries to strike at you from angles. He tried to mix it up with Floyd by doing different angles, doing MMA angles of boxing instead of trying to keep it clean. Tyron Woodley tried to cross over against Jake Paul. Didn't work out so well for him. He had a moment, but that was about it. And then Petr Yan. Petr Yan keeps getting put in the conversation, right? I've seen Petr Yan against Aljo not necessarily have the cleanest performance until later in the fight. He starts off slow so many times. And if it's a defensive thing we're talking about, it's another reason why you hate when I say this. But when we talk about Shane Burgos, Shane has some of the cleanest hands in the business.
Yeah.
Some of the best boxing in the business. But even though he likes to roll his punches, like you said last time we talked about it, he does take a lot of damage.
I mean, that's why I don't have Shane in the mix like that, But like you said, he does have good hands too. Like you said, I usually would put him. I maybe put him top 10, but like I said, we talk about shots. Like you look at his, he has high volume as well. Like Max Holloway, he's over 7, but his absorb is over 6. So it's like I said, we can't get that. And also too, his striking defense is 62%. So I want to say his defense is a little bit better than Max Holloway, though.
Yeah, I mean, I said it last time when Max fought against Yair. Max takes a lot of punishment and doesn't seem to get phased by it. He just keeps coming forward. And I also want to throw this out here too, because we're talking about a lot of the small, fast guys, right? AJ McKee is also like a more versatile, uses a lot of his kicks, submissions, stuff like that. But he has very clean hands. There's 2 things I want to ask you before we come to a conclusion as to who we feel is the best striker. One, what about the big guys, right? Derrick Lewis, his hands, if he gets a hold of you, his hands are lethal. He's obviously susceptible to the takedown and some other stuff. But George Foreman at one point wanted Derrick Lewis to be a boxer, not an MMA fighter. Where would you rank Derrick Lewis in that list? Or a Francis Ngannou who just has like that Mike Tyson of just flurry.
I mean, I would put Francis over Derrick Lewis. To me, Francis does more combinations than Derrick Lewis. To me, Derrick Lewis he's that one shot guy where he just tries to go for the overhand right. That's it. But I mean, we're gonna talk about some bigger guys. Well, I mean, he's not as big, but he is a big. He's not a lightweight or a featherweight. But that's Robert Whittaker. Who's a middleweight. He has some good hands. He's up there as well. Like I'm looking at his stuff. He does about like 4.8. He lands every minute while he absorbs 3.6. So I mean it's still kind of high on the 3 to take, but he is going up against high ranked guys. Like Adesanya and everything like that. But his defense though, I think is 61% as well.
Speaking of Adesanya, that's one other question I have for you. So we kind of disqualified a lot of these all-around strikers, especially the kickboxers. The Adesanyas, the Wonder Boys, Alex Pereira. on just a pure boxing level, where would you put an Adesanya or a Wonder Boy or an Alex Pereira or somebody of that nature that kind of has that kickboxing striking like combo?
I would definitely have Adesanya and Pereira ahead of Wonder Boy. Reason being is because
Wonder Boy's known for his kicks.
Well, yeah, well, one thing too is like Pereira actually came into kickboxing as a boxer. That's really mostly what he throws more anyway is his hands. While Adesanya, he can mix it up. He punches and kicks, and also too, Adesanya does have a few boxing fights as well. But I would probably put Pereira ahead of both of them because to me, Pereira, I mean, yes, he does have that left hook, but he has combinations. He works the head, he works the body. You know, he changes it up.
Yeah, and obviously we got to disqualify Alex because he just came over from the kickboxing world. But Adesanya's been doing it for a while. Valentina Shivchenko is another one. On pure striking, I mean, I'd put her hands with anybody, especially in her division. Rose Namajunas is another female a lot of people don't give a lot of credit for, but she mixes in kicks a lot, but she does have very good hands. Who are some female fighters besides obviously Cyborg? We've already disqualified Holly Holm and Clarissa Shields and Heather Hardy. But who are some female fighters that kind of make the list?
I mean, I know a lot of people don't really kind of care for her because I mean she did become a highlight reel, but I mean Jessica I mean she has some good hands, you know, boxing. She can really throw down. I want to say Angela Hill, you know, she can throw, you know, she can throw down as well. Even Tisha Torres, you know, she has fast hands. You know, she does have a Taekwondo background, but she kind of does really use her punches as well, you know, to kind of get in and get out.
I throw another name in there. Speaking of Tisha, her partner, Rocky Pennington.
Yeah,
Rocky has very good hands when you come to that. And then Jermaine Durandamy, obviously you're known for the more like Muay Thai kickboxing style, but she has very good hands. Durandamy has great hands. She's shown it a number of occasions, knocking out other females. So those are definitely some names. You go over to Bellator, some of the girls you've been hyping up for a while. Let's get out of, before we come to a conclusion, let's get out of the main UFC roster. Like that's where most of these names come from. Throw me just a couple names of best pure boxers from outside the UFC.
I mean, of course, you know, you got, you know, the guy AJ McKee over there, but I mean, I want to say the freak Nemkov. You know, Nemkov he has good hands too. You know, with his striking and everything like that, and he too somebody who works head, body. Sergio Pettis, you know, Clay Collard, you know, in the PFL, you know, he did box, you know, so I mean, he does have the experience as well. Trying to think who else. I mean, we said Anthony Pettis. Yeah, Anthony Pettis, Sergio Pettis.
Yeah, the Pettis brothers.
And nah, he's more of a kicker. I was gonna say Phil Davis, but he really kicks.
This is not the show for that, Brandon. We're not going to debate Phil Davis today.
Yeah, it's all right. But no, but those are really like some names I really want to throw out. You know, AJ McKee, Sergio Pettis, Anthony Pettis, Clay Collard. You know, so I'm saying you got some PFL, you got some Bellator there. Heck, man, even Fedor, man, the GOAT, man.
Yeah, I mean, knocked out Tim Johnson. I definitely could say Fedor. There's a couple names also, you know, that kind of get slept on. For one, in the heavyweights, he's known more of a kickbox, like kicking, striking, but Renan Ferreira throws bombs. We saw that against Fabricio Verdum when he kind of broke out of the chokehold, whether he tapped or not. He throws bombs. Jamel Jones is another guy, throws bombs. Bruno, we saw Bruno Capoloza in the PFL tournament this year, knocking people out left and right. His hands were clean. So definitely like PFL, there's some people. The Pitbull brothers. The Pitbull brothers are known for an all-around game, but they both have really good hands.
Yeah.
Obviously, you know, Patricio didn't have the range against AJ McKee, and AJ just kind of lit him up because he could never get going. So a little bit different. So now it's time we kind of got to narrow it down, right? Trying to keep these shows at a minimum, not 2 hours long, but now it's time we got to narrow it down. I'll go ahead and start my top three right off the bat. Dustin Poirier, Max Holloway, despite how much he gets hit, I don't think there's a guy who probably throws cleaner punches. And then I'm kind of going to go throw a little bit of a curveball with this one. As I was looking over my list again, I think this is so hard trying to pick that third one, even though I kind of know who I'm already going to go with my number one. And I can't include Dos Santos in them because they're kind of on the twilight of their career as well. BJ Penn, who's never really retired, has always been one of the greatest pure boxers in MMA history. Now I'll go back. I'll keep it with the top three. I'll go Dustin, Max, and Petr Yan. Those are my top three. Who are your top three? And then we'll go down from there.
Told you, man. I'm gonna go with
yeah.
I told you. I'm gonna go with Petr Yan. Actually, I'm gonna switch. I'm gonna go Yan, Julio, and then Yanez.
Okay. So out of that, we both have Petr Yan in our list. Makes sense, right? Mm-hmm. He's, what we saw against Sandhagen, what we saw against Jose Aldo. Petr Yan has been going up. He struggles a little bit with wrestlers. Magomedov gave him his only, really like challenge before he got to the UFC. And since then, he's been running through people until he got to Aljo and got disqualified with a knee of all things, not even his hands. I think Petr Yan's in the conversation. But for my money, even though Dustin plays Mr. Humble, I think at this point in the game, I think Dustin Poirier has the best hands in all of MMA. I think he's the best pure boxer in MMA. I think he's taken his game from being this MMA style striker to just tightening up his game. He works so much on tightening up his game. His punches used to come out everywhere like this and just wild. He tried to overwhelm you with volume. And now he's like tight, right down the middle. 1-2 combinations. He throws that third in the combo that kind of messes people up. He throws those short hooks. A lot of people have these check hooks nowadays. Even Charles Oliveira has a check hook. But not only does Poirier overwhelm you with volume, he overwhelms you with accuracy. I don't think I've seen somebody throw in the last couple of years as accurately as Dustin Poirier. I know you got the stats right in front of you, but I think his accuracy alone, like, just catapults him at the top of the list. That's my number one guy. I don't even think there's really much debate about it because I've seen what he does. Giannis gets hit a lot too. You're talking about defense. Mm-hmm. The last couple of fights that Giannis has fought have been kind of slugfest. And I love Adrian Giannis. I love that you even brought him into this conversation because I don't think most people would have mentioned him. He looked fantastic against Gustavo Lopez. When I was actually picking Lopez in that fight because of his grappling, Giannis never gave him a chance. He kept him off balance, rocked him a few times, kept him and finished him. Giannis also mixes in that high kick as well. So it's not all just about his hands, even though I think they're very skilled. But my number one guy, pound for pound, best pure boxer in MMA, I'm going with Dustin Poirier. Who's your number one?
Man, you know what, dude? As they're like doing all this stuff, I'm like, yo, I kind of got suckered. Like, I think I gotta go with my boy, Julio Arce. I gotta be a homer now. Like, I would just look like I knew.
Even though what just happened against Sedon Young?
Hey, it happens, but I'm looking at the man's stats and everything. I'm like, how can you kind of argue against it when, like, saying you want to talk about Dustin Poirier and everything like that? But
man, I just want to know, is Julio like sliding the money under the table? Is he just gonna like hand it to you at the gym? Like, how is this happening?
Nah, like, dude. All right, so I'll tell you why I'm going with Julio. All right, I'm just trying to make sure I got everything laid up. I want to make sure I got my stats right. So now when we talk about defense, right? He basically absorbs 2.9 strikes a minute, right? So that's under 3. That's pretty good. He's throwing, or should I say he's landing about 4.3.
Real quick, and he's a bloody mess the whole time. Go ahead.
It's all right. Hey, man, some people are bleeders like that. But hey, when your defense is like that, though, now you can't knock him. Now you can't knock him on the 36% striking accuracy. I will give him that. I'll give you that. But his defense though is 68% though. All right. So I mean, I kind of want to go when we got the offense and the defense, but saying to knock your boy Dustin Poirier now, his striking accuracy is 51%. So that is pretty good if you're better than half.
You also have a lot longer resume as far as like when it comes to Dustin. Like, I don't think your stats can narrow it down to the last 3 years, the last 4 years, because you remember as well as I do, the Dustin Poirier back in 2012 is not the same Dustin Poirier today. He's evolved like all MMA fighters do. He's evolved into a machine.
Yeah.
If you had asked me this 10 years, I would never have put Dustin Poirier in that conversation. But I'm putting him in today. You see what I'm saying? So those stats don't always lie, but sometimes they do.
I mean, I'm saying no. He's high, like saying he's high on the offensive side, like you want.
I mean, if you put the last 2 fights, I'd put Kamaru Usman in there.
Come on, man. Come on. See again, Mike. You're gonna do this to me again, Mike. You know what? I would still wouldn't even put Kamaru Usman in as the best boxer out there. Dude, like he's just throwing a jab. That's it. He's not throwing anything else. He's not putting combinations together.
The best jab in the business.
Oh my goodness, man. Dude, that could be another debate as well if you want to one day. All right.
Do you think he'll ever fight Canelo?
Man, please. Canelo ain't thinking about that guy. Man, please. Man, Kamaru's smart. Who just talk about it but not really do it, man. He don't want that. He don't want that trouble.
All right, go back to defending Arce.
No, that's really just my only thing is like say, I mean, it's either Arce or my other pick that I was telling you about, which was Petr Yan, is really who I like also as well. But I'm just gonna go. Yeah.
Let me tell you this. I have a hard time poking holes in Petr Yan. Arce, I think, is the 3rd best boxer in your gym. Like, I would put Shane and Jimmy above Arce as pure boxers.
Bro, if only you knew, man.
I mean, I don't see the workouts you see, but from what I've seen on UFC television, I think Jimmy Rivera has very underrated hands. I think Jimmy's been going to war for years with his hands. And Shane, we talked about his downfall is his defense.
Yeah.
His offense and his footwork. Shane, I mean, we didn't talk about a lot this episode about boxing footwork.
Yeah.
Shane Burgo's footwork is insane. He gets stuck against some of these, like the matchmakers have done him no favors in UFC. They've put him against some of the best and people that brought the battle. Obviously, Barboza against even Billy Q. Billy Q brought the fight for 3 rounds until Shane finally finished him. Every fight Shane's been in has been Josh Emmett. It's like just one battle after another battle after another battle. They haven't done him any favors because it's always such an exciting time every time Shane steps in that cage. You know it's going to be a war. Michael Chandler gets slept on because of him coming up on the short end of a couple of these battles.
Yeah.
Justin Gaethje, like I said, he keeps coming to mind. But even if I'm just looking like the last 5 years, I don't see anybody that's done it better than Dustin Poirier.
I mean, dude, like I say, I go with Petr Yan as well. Like I said, the reason why I also like Petr Yan is, man, he works different. He has the good defense, right? His striking accuracy is better than Poirier's, but not by that much, but just a little bit. You know, his defense, he doesn't get hit as much. You know, he has combinations as well. He works the head, works the body, moves around. You know, that's the reason why I like say I love Dustin Poirier, but I just like I can put him ahead of Max, but I just can't put him ahead of Petr Yan. And
yeah, you said something I really agree with when it comes to Max, and a lot of people put Max number 1. I agree with you. He gets hit too much. Max has been in these wars, and another thing, and this is not to discredit Max Holloway because I'm a big Blessed fan. His resume is not as long as people think. Like, people act like Max has 30 fights. He has like 15. Like, Max has been in some of these high-profile battles that kind of elevated him because he won them early, but he hasn't been in that many battles overall. Petr Yan's another one who has, I think, 20 fights, maybe, not even. that said, people like Petr Yan, a lot of the Mexican fighters or Brazilian fighter like Davison Figueiredo fighting a lot of promotions that you never see their record show up on a Tapology or Sherdog. We talk about that on Crossing Borders a lot when Alex Soto is talking about some of these fighters. You don't really know their real record because they've been fighting all over the world. Petr Yan's one of those dudes coming over from the Russian leagues that you don't really know his records actually.
Yeah.
But Dustin's done it in front of the cameras almost the entire time. From the time I think he was like 6 or 7-0, he's been in the UFC the whole time. Another guy, Kevin Lee, just got released who had done the same thing for a long time. Kevin Lee actually has pretty good hands as well, the Motown phenom. But for your money, you sticking with Petr Yan or are you sticking with Julio Arce? Because you keep kind of going back and forth now.
Hey man, Julio Arce is a former Golden Gloves champion. That's all I'm saying. In New York too, that's a pretty hard thing to do.
He's disqualified. He's a boxer. No, I'm just kidding.
Man, just so I don't seem like a homer, I'll go with Petr Yan
section.
Yeah, I'll go with Petr Yan.
That, ladies and gentlemen, is Brandon not wanting to receive nothing but hate in the comments section and on Twitter and on Instagram and everywhere else. I think that's going to wrap it up. I think we pretty much debated it until it was done. Leave your comments below. Let us know who is the best pure boxer in MMA today. Not all time, just today. You start throwing all time, like first name comes to my mind is prime time, like prime BJ Penn. Like nobody can mess with BJ Penn's hands back in the day. Yeah. He got like dominated by GSP's wrestling. Mm-hmm. Nobody could mess with BJ Penn's hands back in the day. Maybe Frankie Edgar, because he was so fast back in the day, especially for that 155-pound weight class. But nobody hands-wise can mess with BJ Penn back in the day. There's a number of boxers that have kind of crossed over. There's a number of MMA guys trying to get that extra money in boxing right now. It's a great conversation. It's one of those things where people talk about and they're like, MMA versus boxing. It's like the battleground, like talk about Battleground. That's been the battleground since the start of MMA. Like, how is MMA compared to boxing? Instead of thinking about the whole picture, mixed martial arts. Boxing is one of the elements and one of the profile skills in MMA. There is no MMA without boxing. There's no MMA without wrestling, jiu-jitsu, kickboxing, Muay Thai, karate, you name it. It's mixed martial arts. It's not just one discipline. Boxing is the sweet science. It's one thing. You don't have to worry. Well, unless you're fighting Teofimo Lopez, who tried to like feint a kick in his last fight. but you don't have to worry about somebody kicking you in leg kicks, takedowns, high kicks, none of that stuff. Knees in a boxing fight. It's hands versus hands. Rolling punches. You're Roy Jones Jr. I mean, Anderson Silva, right? He's crossed over now. He's doing some quote-unquote exhibition celebrity fights. But he beat a legitimate former boxing champion, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., which a lot of people thought was an upset. Knocked out Tito Ortiz, which I think a lot of people are clapping for that one. So there's been, over the years, a number of great boxers in MMA. That said, I think today is Dustin Poirier. Brandon thinks it's Petr Yan. Leave a comment. Of course, this is on the Fighters First Network. Go ahead. It's the holiday season. Cop a shirt. I've been putting out new shirts. We're doing the Mike Fresh collab. If you haven't noticed, that's on the network. I mean, on the shop, fightersfirst.shop. I got a lot of new designs coming out. When this show drops, you'll probably see a couple more already. Throughout the holiday season, I'm trying to put out like 15 to 20 shirts. Some of those are collabs from Mike Fresh because I'm trying to really add the streetwear collection to Fighters First, kind of broaden our horizons a little bit, give you a little bit of everything, expose the Mike Fresh audience to Fighters First, expose the Fighters First audience to Mike Fresh. Both of those are brands that I run and operate, and I think they're also pretty dope, not to like be a homer like Brandon with Julio Arce, but I think they're pretty dope, and I think for the holiday season, I think you'll love it. Check out the Mechanic collection. We're going to be putting some more hoodies, some more Christmas time stuff up over the season. Brandon's one of the few collections that already has hoodies, so go ahead and check it out. His zip-up hoodie is one of the best in the shop. I love that one. Check out his Kicking It merchandise. I know this is turning into a long ad, but this is Christmas season. I have to do it. I'll leave it with just check out fightersfirst.shop. This is Battleground on Fighters First. Make sure you like and subscribe, and we'll see you next episode. We're out.